Hello, good evening and welcome to The Probe. My name is Carlos Kalode. We are live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 125, Joy 99.7 FM and Love 99.5 FM. We also streaming live on all our social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube and X at Joy News on TV. Around the world, we are on myjoyonline.com. The show is interactive, so you can share your thoughts on our live streams or WhatsApp number 054 0109009 or 055-111-1997. Tonight, we ask, what signals are the youth of Ghana getting from the NDC government promise of youth-centered policies 120 days into office? You will recall that in the run-up to the 2024 election, youth unemployment emerged as a top concern for millions of young people across the country. In response then, flag bearer and now President John Mahama unveiled a youth-focused manifesto pledging practical, targeted interventions to address this persistent challenge. Tonight, we revisit those promises as we touch on the key policies laid out to measure how much of them have been implemented so far. But most importantly, hear from young people across the country about how they perceive the government efforts in addressing their needs and aspirations. Details of that on the screen as you see it. Now, the NDC Youth Manifesto had at least 88 promises made in that manifesto by then candidate John Dramani Mahama. Now, let's look at the top 5 of those 88 promises. You have there no academic fees for level 100 students, and that has been partially achieved because we know that some funds have been allocated. Now, the number 2 out of the 5 is reduced data cost. That has not been done yet. And number 3 is to train 1 million youth in coding. We can say that is in progress to some extent because it has been launched, and quite a number of Ghanaian youth are being trained in that. The number 4 out of 5 is to establish a Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. And indeed, we can say that has also been achieved because that ministry is functioning now and it has a minister. The 5th one among the top 5 is to scrap betting tax. And indeed, as you see there, that has been achieved. That's just the 5 of the 8. Let's now go through the key ones. So you see there, like I said, train 1 million youth in coding, that's in progress, and establish a Ministry of Youth Development. Indeed, that has also been done. Now, let's move on to other areas. Increase access to quality education from basic to tertiary level. That's in progress because some interventions have been put in place so far to fully achieve that. Now, reducing data cost, nothing major has been mentioned on that particular one. So you see it in red, nothing, 0. Let's move on to dedicating funding for free senior high school. Some sort of it has also been achieved in terms of allocating funds for that particular initiative. And also, decentralized recruitment in public services. That has not been done yet because we do know that recruitment into the police service and all those things still remain centralized. So that has not been done yet. Now, abolish the double track system. To some extent, we can say yes, that is being done, and allocate funds to complete e-blocks. Nothing at all has been mentioned on that particular one in regards to the Youth Manifesto. Now, bed for all policy, as you can see there in red, nothing has also been done so far on it. Now, let's look at provision of Wi-Fi in all public institutions. That's the state of it is unknown as we speak, but we'll definitely get answers from the minister. Also, establish a Women's Development Bank. We do know that in the budget, some amount of money has been allocated towards the establishment of that particular bank. Another initiative or policy that is in progress is to ensure affordable health care for all. A number of it, including the Mahama Care and others, have also been launched. And so we can say it's in progress to a large extent. Now, zero tolerance for nepotism. If you look at the broader appointment made by the president, one can say to some extent that is being addressed. But many also have concerns when it comes to, picking people from all parts of the country. And so we'll delve deeper into that conversation as we go on, and also invest $3 billion with the private sector in technology and fintech. Of course, if you follow the news since Mahama assumed office 120 days ago, you would realize that certain steps are being taken in that regard. Also, remove quotas in teacher and nurse training programs. That also certain steps are being taken. Engage more young people in government roles. Of course, if you look at Mahama's appointments so far, many young people have been picked for roles. Even the minister in charge of youth development and empowerment himself, to a large extent, can be said, I don't know if he falls within the youthful bracket according to the policy. So we can say that's also in progress. Another thing is abolish teacher licensure exams. We've heard the education minister make some comments on that. I think a committee has been set up to look into that. So that also in progress. Now, increase access to quality education from basic to tertiary levels. Yes, we can say that also in progress, according to Joy News Research Desk. And partner with religious bodies and NGOs for skills development is also in progress. Now, support fee-paying students through the Student Loan Trust Fund. Yes, of course, per what the budget says, we can say that's also in progress. Now, free tertiary education for persons living with disabilities is also has been implemented to a large extent. Now, still in the NDC Youth Manifesto, implement a no academic fees policy for level 100 students. We know that about 500 million has been allocated for about 15,000 or so students who are going to be benefiting from that. So yes, that has been done to a large extent. And redeploy the Student Loan Trust Fund Plus to give loans to continuing students for free payment. That's, we can't really tell what its status is. So we asked the minister. Now, deliver free tertiary education for disabled persons. Yes, according to our research, certain steps have been taken to address that also. Now, collateralize the GET Fund and restore its original mandate. Clearly, that steps have been taken to restore that and create more jobs for young people through the Ghana Green Jobs. We do know that the Ghana Green Jobs has also been launched to a large extent. So we can say, yeah, that's also in progress. Now, let's come to the 24-hour economy strategy in that particular youth manifesto. It says implement job sharing with one job divided among 3 workers. We know that the committee has been set up working around to fully implement the 24-hour economy strategy. So we can say yes, to a large extent, that's beginning to see some light. Now, investing in security, including personal and street lighting. If you look at the street of Accra, indeed, the Greater Accra Regional Minister has been talking about that, has done over 90% of that. That we can say at least for Accra. But we don't know of other regional capital and district capital. So to a certain degree, we can say that's also in progress. Now, the policy also said going to offer incentive for private firms to participate in the 24-hour economy. That's, we don't know the status yet. And it's also going to leverage the AFCFTA to boost economic demand under the 24-hour economy strategy. And there you have the president himself on corruption. He said, and I quote, "I will wage a relentless fight against corruption." So tonight, we want to find out if that's actually in progress. And so as a young person in Ghana, does President Mahama's performance over the past 120 days convince you that real change is finally here? Or does it feel like the same old wine in a new bottle? What are the key concerns young people have about the government agency in tackling their challenges? And what exactly is driving the youth-focused policies currently being rolled out by government? When I return, we'll get answers from the Minister of Youth Development and Empowerment, George Opari-Addo, who is here in studio with me. And you're watching The Probe and you are listening live on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll return after this short break. Please stay. Well, welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. Don't forget, we are streaming live on all our social media platforms and also on Joy 99.7 FM, Love 99.5 FM. Let me start with you, George Opare Addo. You've been in office now for the past 120 days. How would you describe your intervention so far for the Ghanaian youth?
What's the name again?
Carlos.
Good evening to your esteemed viewers. When I listen to you go through the various promises His Excellency President Mahama made to the good people of this country, one thing that came across was we are looking at a 4-year mandate.
Right.
If it is within 120 days. In our manifesto, we made specific promises, things that we intend to achieve within 120 days. And not too long ago, His Excellency addressed the nation, put out the things he's been able to do within 120 days.
Right.
The mandate of His Excellency is for 4 years. A lot of the things we have not been able to do from what you put out, or a lot of the things you say are in progress, clearly are things that cannot happen overnight. Governance is a progressive channel, is a progressive system.
Right.
Governance is not an event. So, for me, I'll say that His Excellency has kept faith. He promised the good people of this country, and by establishing a ministry solely for youth development. A lot of the things you've said must be properly coordinated. Over the years, we've had ministries that have focused on youth-related issues. At a point in time, we had the Ministry of Education and Youth. We've had the Ministry of Youth and Sports for a very long time. But no particular government has been very intentional and deliberate about issues that affect young people. The key focus of the Ministry of Youth Development, we are looking at 5 broad thematic areas. The first is on education and skills development. And you realize that a lot of our manifesto promises has got to do with education. The second, we are looking at the health and well-being of our young people. And the third is economic empowerment, as the name suggests, Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. We're also looking at personal development and leadership of young people. And the last one is their civic engagement and their participation in governance.
Right.
One of the key things you mentioned was that a lot of young people have been appointed by His Excellency President Mahama to various key government areas.
Right.
Clearly, this is a government that is focused. This is a government that knows what he's about. And this is a government that wants to put issues of young people at the center of his governance. Carlos, from every indication, President Mahama seeks to make sure that every single promise he made in that manifesto is staked. He has not just made appointments to various sectors. He's also appointed some other senior government or governance experts.
Right.
To coordinate and make sure that every single promise in the manifesto is achieved. And Dr. Valerie Sawyer and her team have been playing that coordinating role effectively. And so if you look at the 120 days, even the 120 days, we had a special committee that was inaugurated by His Excellency himself. And the good thing is that at every point in time, you submit sector by sector. You submit progressive reports of what you've been able to achieve. A lot of the things in education, we need a thorough review of our education system. And that is currently ongoing.
Right.
And once that is done and the reports are put out, we will see the transformation of our educational sector. And so if you ask me whether President Mahama has met the expectations, not because I'm Minister for Youth Development, but because I see and I feel the change we voted for. A change that is reflecting in every facet of our daily life. A change that is reflecting in the everyday life of the Ghanaian. A change that every Ghanaian is happy that this change has come, and a change that I believe that in 4 years, when he gives account of his stewardship, will be transformational.
Right. Many are applauding you for launching a number of initiatives. Indeed, like you said, governance is a process. It's going to take time for the real impact to be felt. But so far, within the first 120 days that you've been in office, what level of impact can you put out in terms of all these initiatives that you've launched?
The first is, at least today, young people have a dedicated ministry where they can go to, at least to be listened to. And that ministry is there for them.
But they had the youth ministry also before. What's the difference?
They had a ministry of youth
and sports, yeah.
Carlos, we all know the issues of sports in this country. And even sports, just the Black Stars.
Right.
And we know how broad issues of sports are. Also, issues that affect young people are cross-cutting. When you go to agric, you find issues that affect young people in there. When you go to health, you find issues that affect young people in there. When you come to education, young people are at the center of it. When you go to communications, young people. Wherever you go, you find young people. What we did not have was somebody who was in charge, sits at the highest level of government to make sure that all these sectors, at least there is proper coordination and collaboration so that these activities that affect young people are properly paid attention to. What the job of the ministry is, and like I said, the 5 broad thematic areas we are looking at, is to coordinate all other sectors so that we bring issues of young people to the front burner. We must be deliberate and intentional to be able to achieve this. And that is what we are doing. In terms of impact, the impacts will be felt over time.
So now we're not feeling the impact?
When I say the impact will be felt, it's not that the impact is not being felt.
Okay.
We've just launched the National Apprenticeship Program. We hope to train 10,000 this year. But we are estimating that in 5 years, we will train 500,000. By the time the first beneficiaries pass out, society will have a proper feel of their impact. But in the individuals who have started training, the impact will be felt by them. The master craftsmen who will be giving the apprentice fees and what have you, the impact will be felt. Right. And so clearly, but society, the broader society, will have the impact when they are done with their training and they are out there rendering services.
Right.
When you come to education, as I speak to you, the 1 million coders program is ongoing. It started. We started training people in that respect. We are doing the no-fee stress, where first-year students, we've asked that they go on a portal. Everybody, because you need to show proof that you've paid your fees. Because the schools reopen before we assume government properly. And so we told them that go ahead and pay, and then we'll do a refund to you. A portal has been opened by the STLF office, the Student Loan Trust Office, and they've started working to see to it that everybody's money that was...
So far, do we have any numbers to that? So they'll be able to pay their fees over?
I won't be able to put out numbers today.
Right.
Because I did not anticipate that these questions were going to come.
Right.
But subsequently, I can provide you with that information. But so once those monies are refunded back to the students, if they give it back to their parents, the impact will be felt in their pockets. If they choose to keep it, the impact will still be felt in their pocket. And so there are various sectors that these policies are impacting. But the bigger impact will be felt over a period of time. And that is why I said governance is not an event, it's a process.
All right.
And the process, once it is in motion, as we drive along, you'll begin to feel the effects.
So you're positive that the Muhammad-led administration, the first 100 days, has been so impactful?
Extremely impactful.
Okay, before I go to the guests who have real questions for you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you grade your own performance in office for the first 100 days for the youth?
For the youth? Maybe I'll give myself 7. Yeah.
Right.
Because I still believe there is a lot more we can do. And the challenge has been that, because it was a new ministry, even assembling the staff was a challenge. And so we lost valuable days. I got the full complaint. These are things you cannot control. Because even to find a building to occupy as a ministry was challenging. To get a chief director in, because you needed a chief director to come in, and then now he or she will also help you assemble the staff.
Right.
As I speak to you, just last 2 weeks, I got a full complement of directors.
Just last week?
Just last 2 weeks, I got a full complement of directors because they have to pull them from other ministries. We are new. So putting together a team. And after getting the team, because they are coming from various areas in different sectors, you need to now find a way of blending them together, giving them some sort of training, some sort of orientation. Because some of them are coming face to face with youth-related issues for the first time. And so they must be brought to speed, they must understand. And, you know, things of young people are done differently. And you know how the ministries over the years have operated. And so trying to get them to reorient and then get them to understand how to go about issues of young people have been a bit challenging. But by and large, at least all the key promises that were made within the 120 days, the ministry, together with its agencies, have been able to achieve them.
All right.
Then I'll be modest, maybe 7 over 10.
Right. So if you look at the key areas you've mentioned, education, health, economic engagement, personal development, and leadership. In the area of economy, how do we measure what you've done as a ministry? Because the finance ministry is also doing something else. How do we measure you, the ministry's performance in that area?
Our job is to empower young people for economic self-reliance.
Right.
And so by doing so, we must give them skills that can make them economic viable. We've rolled out a program called Ejumera. Ejumera simply means owner of business, where we want to get as many as 10,000 young people trained in various fields of entrepreneurship and help them establish their own businesses. If 10,000 young people are able to start businesses, that even employs just them, we've created 10,000 new jobs. And so economically, it will be impactful. The next step is the issues of whether these businesses can be scaled up, the issue of scalability. And those are the key things we are looking at. We are looking at businesses that can employ at least a minimum of 2. So he himself, the business owner, and another person. And then look at how you can scale this up. We are hoping that by the time the 4 years that Ghanaians have been gracious enough to give to us is over, at least we would have created 40,000 new businesses.
Under the Ejumera?
Under the Ejumera program. And a minimum of over 200,000 sustainable, decent jobs to be created in that space alone.
All right.
We've also launched the National Apprenticeship Program.
I was going to come to that, the difference between the Ejumera and the apprenticeship program.
So Ejumera is for people who want to start their own businesses. They have their visions, they have their dreams, they have their plans. They don't know how to start. We are putting them in an incubator, taking them through some basic training programs.
Right.
Some basic skills like financial literacy, how to manage a business, how to register your business. And then we're also going to help them register and regularize their businesses. And then support them to start. So these are people with passion, people who have plans, people who have started something already, people who are within the informal sector and want to see how they can formalize their business and make their business viable.
So walk me through. If I walk to your ministry now, as somebody who is passionate about doing business, how do I benefit from that program?
Okay, so we have 5 main agencies under the ministry. So one of our key agencies, the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, has been tasked to run the Ejumera program. If you walk to the ministry and you want to enroll to the Ejumera, the first thing we'll tell you is either you can pick forms at the ministry and register, or you can go online and register through the NEIP website. You will see once you link neip.gov.gh, once you open, there is a slot for Ejumera, then you fill your forms. Then you share with us your profile, your Ghana card details, and then your business plan.
Right.
Briefly, we are using AI and we are using a selection process. So those that go online, AI will help us generate all that data, and then we subject the applications to some processes. We have a technical committee made up of various stakeholders, including people from the private sector, government agencies. So, for instance, on that committee, there is somebody from the NYA, somebody from the YEA, somebody from the Ghana Enterprise Agency, somebody from CTVET, somebody from TVET, and then some private donor partners.
Right.
Because we want fairness and transparency to be the hallmark so that people with genuine business plans and proposals, and I'll tell you why we are doing this, can benefit from the program. Once you go through and you are selected, this year we are selecting 10,000 because that is what our strength, and we want to start small so that at least when we start, because it's the beginning of a program, we know that there is what we call two-thing problems with programs. And so that when there are any challenges, at least in the second year, we'll be able to correct them. Once you are selected, we are also partnering, we are having partnership with various business development hubs across the country.
Right.
The World Bank has some, NEIP owns some, the universities have some. Just on Friday, I was at the University of Ghana Business School. They have an innovation hub there. So we are seeking to partner with all these hubs.
Okay.
Once you get selected, depending on your location and where you are, we'll link you to a hub. And then some hubs already have curriculums they've developed. We've also, as part of our policy framework, developed the curriculums we want to run with.
Okay. So if you are in Tamale, for instance.
There are hubs in Tamale.
Okay.
So you don't have to travel to the center.
Okay. So it's not a centralized system.
It's decentralized.
Right.
So then you go through the process, and then once you get selected, we put you in a hub, depending on what program or what kind of business you want to do. But we have a standardized program for everybody.
Okay.
So once you go through.
How long does it take?
It's between 1 to 2 months, standardized, for everybody who goes through the program. Once that process is exhausted, there are some that will still have to go further because of the kind of businesses they want to do. Once you pass out, we attach you to mentors, people who have been through that industry you seek to enter. And then they become like your mentors.
In that field.
In that field, and become their mentees. Those who need funding, we've spoken with the Venture Trust Fund to create. Government has a Venture Trust Fund.
Right.
To create what we call the Jumera Trust Fund. So that those that need funding, like big funding, to be able to expand, depending on the proposals you have and how viable your proposals are. So that Venture Trust can give you the fund and hold equity. Because it's a new business. So somebody must...
I believe the young business people are watching, and they would want to know the metrics, the parameters you use to arrive at access to.
I will not be able to say all that here, because we've put in place a technical committee to do that. I am not sure I have the proper skills to be able to outline. I know a few, but I'm not sure. But there are certain key marks and benchmarks that have been set. So you must be able to tick some boxes. Those who don't require much funding, government has funding to support some of them on small scales. But some plans and some proposals, you look at it and this can employ 20, this can employ 30. We are also coming out with what we call the presidential pitch. You see some of the plans. Last week, 2 young men walked into my office with a certain business plan. I called almost every minister I knew could help, because you could look at it and see this is the future. Right staring at you. Such a plan. We are going to put them in a presidential pitch where the president himself will sit in.
What will he do?
No, as part of the processes, when the pitch happens, so that he listens to some of the ideas they have. And then the first 5 will be given grants between 100 to 500,000 to expand their businesses. We also have what we call the vice presidential pitch for female entrepreneurs and people living with disability. Because we want to make sure that at Jumera, at least, we reserve 40% of the total beneficiaries to female entrepreneurs.
40%?
40%. And then a minimum of 15, between 5 to 15% for people with disability. So we have what we call the vice presidential pitch too. And those who go through and are successful, they will be given grants to be able to start their businesses and put funds into their businesses. So that is what the Jumera is about. Then we have what we call the National Apprenticeship Program, which is totally different from the Jumera. Carlos, I'm going to share something with you, and it will blow your mind. This is what the realities are.
Right.
When you take 10 students from basic school, by the time they reach secondary school, about 4 of them have fallen off. 10. When you take 10 students who start basic school from class 1, by the time they get to secondary school, 4 are off. That 4, they are not in education, they are not in training, and they are not in employment. So what are they doing? They're a problem for Ghana to find out and deal with. But we can solve that group, that 4, by giving them skills so they can also contribute meaningfully to the development of Ghana. That is why we've come out with what we call the National Apprenticeship Program. The difference is this. We have a lot of TVET organizations and institutions, right? So skills training is more like TVET. But a lot of our TVET organizations are within the 4 walls of a classroom. He didn't go through basic school. Right. He didn't go through junior high school. He didn't go through senior high school. The classroom is not a conducive place for him. That doesn't mean he's not willing to learn a craft or a trade or a vocation. We want to learn it through the informal sector. We also have a very big informal sector that has not been formalized. In every community across this country, you'll find one craftsman or the other, a master craftsman. When you go everywhere, let your car break down in any part of this country, a town away, they'll find you a mechanic who can fix it.
Sure.
But he's not formal. Nobody knows about him. How do we formalize that group and bring them into the formal sector? And how do we also pick that need group, that is not in training, not in employment, and not in education, and give them skills? So I live in a community called Inchenua, in the Okre constituency. I am a tailor. There are about 4 young people in there who want to learn how to sew. I can teach them, but I don't have the resources to teach them.
Right.
The National Apprenticeship Program will come and assess you, the tailor. Because before you impart knowledge, we must ascertain that you know what you are teaching. So we have a program called the Prior Knowledge Certification Program under the NAP, which is part of our manifesto promises. I didn't see it on the screen.
Okay. Maybe I skipped it.
You skipped it. Yeah. And so what NAP comes to do is NAP comes with TVET.
Okay.
To come and assess you, the tailor. And then when TVET certified instructors are satisfied that you are satisfied that you, Carlos, you can teach, you know your craft, they will give you a certificate. And then NAP will help register your business.
Okay.
So from informal, that's master craftsman. We are bringing you into the formal sector.
Okay.
We're going to help you register.
Okay.
Formalize.
Now, before we delve into other areas, sustainability of this in 1 minute. How do you intend to sustain it? And also, many are raising concerns about politicizing some of these things. You go into the communities and you are looking at political colors to determine who gets enrolled onto this program.
His Excellency the President has given us a budget line. And in this year's budget, at least, there were clear budget lines for all these 2 programs I spoke about. 100 million Ghana cedis for Ejumera, 300 Ghana million for the National Apprenticeship Program. We are also talking, and we are speaking, that it is time we begin to start talking about a youth development fund. In our manifesto, we spoke about a fund, a 750 million entrepreneurship fund. We are thinking of looking at having a youth development fund where governments will look at the various revenue sources and see if we can, just like we have the GET fund, just like we have the road fund. I believe strongly as Minister for Youth Development that we need a fund solely for youth development.
What will it do?
A fund that will go into these programs we are talking about.
To make it sustainable.
To make it sustainable so that successive governments, because I gave you some scary statistics, that before the child gets to secondary school, 4 of them falls off.
Right. So are you blaming that on the lack of a dedicated funding?
No. But now that we know they exist,
we need to solve the problem.
We need to find a way of making sure that they don't become a burden onto all of us.
Right. Let's delve into the Work Abroad initiative.
Yeah.
What is it all about?
Work abroad simply means work abroad.
Yeah.
So,
but a lot people are raising concerns.
What are their concerns?
Concerns that we are already crying of brain drain, and you're not trying to.
But you see, Carlos, brain drain because it has not been regularized. Brain drain because government is not getting anything out of the investment he's making into these young people. The people will migrate anyway. So if they migrate, why don't we do it in a way that is sustainable, decent, and regularized? A lot of our sisters are being taken advantage of because of how they migrate out of this country. So if they are going to go, why don't we do it in a way that we can export this labor legally and make sure government keeps an eye on those who are going out there? Because you see, the Philippines, there are Filipinos all over. They export labor. There are Cuban doctors all over. We have nurses who have been home for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years because we've not been able to post them. Meanwhile, Europe is in need of nurses. So if we can do or run a program that can help them move out, because you see, there are certification processes they must go through. And that is how come these middlemen take advantage of them. So if government can regularize it and take charge of this program and help them migrate legally through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Youth Development, I think is a master stroke and we must support it.
But you just said that people, migrate anyway.
Yes, but you see...
But why are you adding costs?
No, we are not adding costs.
Of course, when you are facilitating their, movement,
yeah.
But
do you know what the middlemen are taking from them?
So government want to absorb that cost?
No. So what government wants to do is, government is signing MOUs with organizations abroad. If your citizen leaves this country and you're a government that cares, you must be able to follow and understand and know where he or she is going to. So government is going to do that. We get phone calls, we get distress phone calls from our sisters, our brothers in other jurisdictions. That, oh, somebody told me I should come and do a nanny job here. I've come and they are abusing me and they are doing this to me. Let the government come and take me back. Not too long ago, I joined the ILO to welcome returnees back to Ghana.
So the objective is to cure that?
It's to cure that and make sure that there is a proper process so that people, because we can export labor like other countries do. Cuban doctors don't just get up and come.
Is there any estimation in terms of what the government of Ghana is going to benefit in terms of returns?
Certainly, Carlos.
What are the projections looking like?
Carlos, if you look at our earnings as a country, foreign direct investments that comes in is about the fourth or third highest because of remittances from abroad. So if government helps these people go legally and they are working legally and they are properly protected because they have proper paperwork and they have families back home, just like we get remittances from abroad, that comes to support our domestic, our GDP locally. It is the same. So, and it will be increased, it will be coordinated properly, and the safety of our citizens.
Has government done any research?
Of course.
In this particular, and there's a paper that points to this policy.
When we came into government, the previous government had even started a process like that.
Right.
It was not detailed. But what we are doing is the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Youth Development are working together to develop a proper legal framework. We've not migrated anybody yet. We've only launched the program. But we are developing a proper legal framework. And everybody, every country, because now we are asking all the other countries that if you are looking for labor, instead of using your middlemen, come through government. Let us go to those countries you are looking for, the kind of jobs. Let's go and see. Let a team, and every country that we have a foreign mission, we have people there. Let them be in charge. So we are doing this together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Employment, and then the Ministry.
So far, how are the numbers looking like? Ghanaians showing interest?
Of course. Ghanaians always want to.
Yeah, so
there is a lot of interest, but like I said, we've gotten a lot of requests from some of the Scandinavian countries. We've gotten requests from some of the European countries that are seeking labor, and even some of the Asian Arab countries seeking labor from us. But we are not rushing into it.
What kind of labor do you want to export?
From all fronts. It depends. We are looking at skilled and unskilled.
Okay.
But skilled more, because skills brings you more value.
Right. So let's look at the military training for NSS initiative. What is the idea behind this, to train persons, for instance, who have gone to school to study medicine. Now you're going to train them as military people.
No, we are not training them as military people. Carlos, I met Prince Kofi Amwabi. Immediately I took up. You know, he has an interesting program he runs. And I wanted to understand the rationale behind it, because all his trainees, he takes them through a certain leadership program. And he gives them, they also go through the military. We all know how disciplined the military is. If you want to become a global leader, if you want to become a leader, if you want to become somebody, one of the key things you must do in terms of your personal development is inculcating yourself a sense of discipline. And which best organization helps you do this than the military? And so it is just to help people who want to assume certain leadership positions to go through some level of appreciation of what they need to do and how astute they must become to become leaders in a certain environment. And that is why we are giving them, or we've signed that MOU with the military through the National Service. We believe that the National Service is responsible for graduate students who have graduated. And these are people who are going to end up in industry. So some level, because you see, Carlos, whether we like it or not, we need a mindset reset to be able to drive this country where we want to go.
Right.
The resets that we are preaching, we need a mindset reset. We believe strongly that the military can help us achieve that. And so it is not the vigorous military training of going to, no, it's more of a mindset kind of training to help you become a better.
So they are not going to handle arms?
No.
How long are they supposed to do this?
Oh, we are looking between a week or two. And then you pass, because there are many, so that you pass out. We just want you to have a sense or a purpose of time. You know how the Ghanaian attitude is in terms of time. We are late for programs. In the military, you are not late. When they say 16 hours GMT, 16 hours GMT, you are there. That is a kind of agency, and we want to build global leaders that can test. Because one of the key areas I spoke about the ministry is about the issue of leadership and participation. We want to get a lot of young people into the governance space.
All right.
To be able to get them there, you must prepare them mentally. And we believe that the military has what it takes to prepare.
Are you going to keep them in the barracks?
No.
What is the mode like?
The military has training facilities. And National Service also has some facilities across the country. National Service is going to lead in this. And so it can be, like if it's a week, we are still fleshing out the modalities, but we don't intend to keep them in barracks. We can't keep them in barracks.
Are you going to give them some allowances?
But we pay National Service allowances.
Are they going to get extra?
No, but we pay them allowances. So as part of their training or their service. So if you are going to do National Service for 1 year and you are spending 2 months or 2 weeks to go through a capacity building program, at the end of the month, I'm still giving you your allowance. So if I'm building your capacity and I'm paying your allowance, do I need to give you extra allowance?
You know the military training is not like the civilian. And so the demand for extra something to motivate them would be there.
You've said it. I'll bet my mind to it, but we don't intend to do that.
So if you take me to Ho now, you expect me to just be in the barracks and expect that at the end of the day, I'm going to get
But National Service posts you across the country. You don't decide where you want to go. The scheme decides where they are taking you to based on your qualification and where your skills are needed.
Right. Well, hold on for me. There are some few Ghanaian youth who are joining. Emmanuel Boakye Yadom is a former president of NUX, and he joins us on Zoom. We don't have a lot of time, but Emma, what questions do you have for the minister with regards to youth empowerment and development?
Carlos, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity once again. I think there are three important questions I would want to ask.
Make it brief.
The most pressing challenge facing the youth is unemployment. So I just want to know, I'm asking that as the Minister for Youth, what has he been able to do, especially with creation of jobs, since they've sacked almost 12,000 employees from the public sector. And then again, the second critical question is also be about equity and then inclusivity.
Okay, we can do with that quickly because there are others who are on the line who want to ask questions. You may want to respond to him quickly.
Sack from the public sector is not accurate. Carlos, you cannot give what you do not have. In law, you can only give what you have. Before anybody is given employment, and I challenge you, and anybody listening to me, that anybody who was employed and given proper clearance before December, before the 7th December election, should bring proof that he had an employment letter and that clearance was given before he assumed that role. Not too long ago, teachers were demonstrating at the Ministry of Education. 39,000 teachers were given appointment letters after 7th December with no clearance. They only had clearance for 9,000. Before you are employed into public sector, the Minister for Finance must give clearance because government must be able to absorb you onto the payroll. Budget allocations are made. So when you lose power and on the night of leaving office, you decide to put people onto the government payroll against advice from the incoming government that don't do this. And the government comes and says that everybody who was employed at these dates without clearance, go home.
All right.
You don't come back and turn around and say government.
Okay.
The issue of inclusivity, that is what we put. At my vetting, I said poverty doesn't know NDC or NPP. Provided you have a business plan, provided you are looking for skills. When we open, go on the portal. We are using AI to do most of the selections. So
right.
The human interface is limited. So once you are qualified, we'll give you a job to do.
Okay. A lot more people are asking questions on social media. This one says, how has the ministry engaged youth in this policy design and implementation, the policies you talked about? If yes, how were the participants selected?
Okay. So for instance, on the Ejumera and then the National Apprenticeship Program, we did a public survey. We put out questionnaires publicly online through the help of AGRA. And I said, we've not done this alone. We've had development partners partner with us because of the issue of transparency. So we put out questionnaires all over. And then we because you see, to get people engaged, you cannot, the era of putting people in a room to come and speak is over. AI has made life very simple. And then they gave us their input.
So this AI government?
No, but if you can leverage on technology to get your job going.
So that's how you got it.
So we did that. But apart from that, we have a technical committee that has key stakeholders. And I listed some of the organizations that are obvious. There are some aspects that are technical. The policy must come, and when it comes to implementation, you bring on stakeholders. For instance, this issue of Okada riders. At the stakeholder forum, the Ministry of Transport, together with us and then Labour, had a very big program where key stakeholders from all walks of life, people who ride Okada, various groups, were in there, in that room, to make, because initially they said 25. You realize we reduced it to 21.
Okay.
They were all there, and we all decided.
Okay. Hold it for me. Let me go to Henry Oko-Oninko. He is with NASPA in the Tema Metropolis. Henry, thank you so much for joining us here on The Probe. You have some questions for the minister. Kindly unmute so we can hear what you're saying.
I have. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Right. Thank you very much. Let me begin by saying a very good evening to every Ghanaian listening and watching me, especially to my national service personnel across the length and breadth of Ghana, and especially to Tema Metro, NASPA to be precise. Let me commend the minister so far. I think I was having some challenges with some of the explanations minister has given, but then with what he has said tonight, I must say that I'm quite okay, especially as a national service person. This very issue has of military training here and there. You know, I live in Tema Newtown, where we have the Eastern Naval Base. And sometimes you see their trainings, you see them carrying logs, you see them with their rifles. And I got a bit disturbed when I heard about the military training thing. But with the clarification that the Director General of NSS, Mr. Felix Jimfi, and then with what the minister has said now, I can say that, I mean, we are in the right order, and it will be an opportunity for us to be prepared before we go into the public space to serve Ghana. I have one very question for our minister.
Okay, make it quick.
No, we are national service persons. Probably 6 or 5 months from now, we are going to be ending our service. We are ready for the job market. I'm saying this And I'm using we because every national service person who is currently
Henry,
with Ghana is
let your question come.
All right. So the question is very simple. The question is that what is minister doing about our employment? Because you hear people say it is to whom you know, especially when you go to the public spaces. But these are some of the things that get us scared. My question is that what is minister going to do about it? Now, my last question to the minister is that
no, we can allow one because of time. So, minister, can you respond to that?
So one of the key things we've done as a ministry, because National Service sit with us, NIP sit with us, we've told NIP and National Service to work together. We are looking at some of the key beneficiaries of the Jumera program coming from National Service, so that they can also apply, because a lot of them have wonderful ideas to become entrepreneurs. We are also creating other opportunities through the Work Abroad program. And then we believe strongly that we should encourage many more young, because the public sector space is choked, and especially going through all these IMF challenges that we are going through. And so we believe that we should be pushing many more towards entrepreneurship. National Service itself has some entrepreneurship programs that are going to roll out, minus the Jumera program. And we believe strongly that service personnel must take advantage of that program and be able to do it.
All right. Hold it for me. Let me go to Abdul Latif Isahako. He's a regional coordinator for Activista Ghana. In 30 seconds, ask your question. Abdul, if you can hear me.
Yeah, hello. Good evening.
Yeah, make it quick for us. In 30 seconds, ask the minister.
Good evening. All right, thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Abdul Latif Tamale, regional coordinator for Activista. My question to the minister is that how can the ministry support in terms of youth in agriculture? Because if you look at the impact of climate change in the northern region, it's affecting food security, it's affecting production of food. And the seen as the food basket. How can the ministry, the youth ministry support in terms of food in agriculture?
Okay, I think your question is loud and clear. Minister, 30 seconds, if you can respond to that.
Policy called Youth in Agriculture. And once it is launched, we'll be able to address some of these challenges and support young people.
Specifically in the northern part of the country.
One of the key things even Jumera is doing is to support young people in agri-business. Because we've also seen that value chain is another fine opportunity where we can create many more businesses.
All right. Let me go on Zoom and also speak to Prince Dominion. He's a research and teaching assistant at the Department of Politics, KNUST. Prince, you have the opportunity to ask the minister the question that's on your heart.
Hello, Carlos. Thank you and good evening to your listeners and those watching us. And I must commend the government that for the very first time, a policy document has been created purposely for young people to see what the government intends to do. But beyond the policy document, we need to see practicalities and what the issues on the ground are. For me to understand what the ministry wants to do, I would like to ask directly, what are the plans the ministry has in place? But when you look at the policy document, there is a point that says that bed for all. And right now that KNUST students are on vacation. In the next 5 months, one of the challenges that they'll be facing is accommodation issues. And I want to know when and how the ministry intends to solve this. And also, it is stated in the policy documents that they will make sure that people do not pay rent allowances beyond 6 months. I also want to know how they are putting in place measures to make sure that people are paying allowance within the 6 months.
Yeah, I think the question is loud and clear. In 30 seconds, respond to.
Yeah, the government intends to do a public-private partnership for the Bed for All program. We are still reviewing the policy. In due time, it will be launched and then it will start. The rent issue is an issue of law. The law is there. It is about enforcement. And I believe that we are also working with the Attorney General and then the relevant agencies to see to it that that policy of making sure that rent doesn't go beyond. But you see, you need to also engage the property owners.
But the previous government made an arrangement where first time people who want to engage in renting can actually source funding from government entity. Are you going to continue that? Tell us briefly.
What was the outcome of it? It failed woefully. Once the program fails, you have to review and then see the good one, the bad one, take out the bad one.
All right.
deal with the good ones.
All right, let me give the final word to Akins Opoko. He's a youth activist. Akins, in 30 seconds, you have the opportunity to ask the minister your question.
Yes, so my question is on the policy documents, the 120-day social contract, point 3. That is, establish a robust code of conduct and standards for all government officials. And as part of the principles that was launched by the president, you have eschew opulence and be accountable for the use of public funds. This is my question to the minister. Now, we have seen a video of a government appointee gifting out, whether dollars or people are saying dollars, others are saying cedis, in the full glare of the public, which goes against the very code of conduct that the president.
Make it quick, Akins. I'm running out of time.
So the question is, what is the minister saying about these kind of acts, especially to government appointees that are youthful, like Sami Jemfi?
So, Minister, respond to that.
The code of conduct is very clear, it's very explicit on what to do and what not to do. We are human beings. Sometimes we err. When we err, we expect that we'll be forgiven. We have a culture of giving.
Okay.
So we cannot use somebody's, or that culture or somebody's benevolence, use it to become punishment. I believe my brother Sami came from a good place in giving out whatever he was given. Unfortunately, it's been misconstrued. It is not my call. It is the president's call.
You would want the president to trigger the code of conduct?
I don't think it is necessary to trigger the code of conduct on this. Mistakes do happen. We are human beings. And clearly, if not for mischief, I don't see why this should even become an issue.
Okay. Before we go, this is from a viewer. Beyond launching initiatives, what independent evaluation mechanisms has the ministry commissioned to measure the real-world impact of policies? 30 seconds.
So
30 seconds.
All the policies that we've rolled out, like I said, we have a benchmark. We have a technical committee that has.
All right.
So there is a benchmark to assess all that.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, this has been a probe. I have been interacting with Henry Okoninko, Tema Metro President of National Service Personnel Association. Akins Opoko is a youth activist, and many others who join us in this conversation. My name is Carlos Kaloni. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good evening.